Okay, a critical special needs planning step for anybody in California. If you are in California, you need to know this. If you have watched us on YouTube, some of our videos on Prop 19 have gotten hundreds of thousands of views. Prop 19 is a major new law that you need to understand, and it hits families with special needs issues especially hard. We'll talk about why. If you are planning on leaving your home or your rental property for the benefit of a child with special needs or disability to a special needs trust, and a special needs trust can hold property, if we don't plan ahead, property taxes could skyrocket, making them totally uneconomical, either as a place to live for your child or as a rental property that you were going to rely on to generate income to support your child. We have so many clients who saved up and worked hard to buy a duplex or a rental property with the sole purpose of saying, when I'm gone, that rental property is going to support my child because they're not going to be able to support themselves. That's going to generate rental income for them. If you're not aware of this new property tax law, that could be completely upended. So let's talk about what that is. And we hear this all the time too, just the fear of homelessness. I mean, walk around the streets of San Francisco or LA, or really most big cities across America, by the way. We're seeing that increasing in Florida. We're seeing increase in Austin, Texas. But obviously, it's an acute problem in the Bay Area. The fear of homelessness and how many people on the streets are homeless where they pretty clearly have a mental disability or mental health issues. There's so many people who didn't have this safety net. And we have so many clients who live in fear of their child becoming homeless. We have an amazing client, Maurice, who they saved their son from living on the streets of San Francisco after he went through some really challenging mental health issues. We actually did a talk with her on our Gilfix Law YouTube channel. She's writing a book about it. We're going to give a talk at NAMI soon about this. But the bottom line is the fear of homelessness is really, it's acute, right? Especially in California. So Mike, why don't you talk about this new law, Prop 19, what it means and how it applies here. And then I'll go through some numbers for it and some solutions.
We're all aware of Prop 13, right? That was from the 1970s, Jarvis Gann. It rolled back property taxes to a very low level and basically said they can't increase by more than 2% a year. So we have so many clients, so many individuals where their home may be worth $2, $3, $4, $5 million, but their property taxes are $5,000, $8,000, $10,000. Then we had Prop 58. Got to mention that because it said that you could pass along your residence to your kid or kids. No property tax increase, doesn't matter what they do with it, plus another $1 million in assessed value real property. So you could have a cabin in the mountains worth $2 million, assessed value $300,000. That would pass without a property tax increase. So Prop 19 upends all of that. It eviscerates, it eliminates the benefits of Prop 58. So here's what it says. It says that when you pass away, or maybe give your property to your kids when there's a change in title, there will be, for most properties, a 100% reassessment, which means whatever the value of the property is on the date of your passing, that's going to establish the new assessed value. So if a property is worth $2 million, the property tax is going to go up to about $22,000, $24,000 a year. The increase can be 1,000%. It can be more. The only exception is a partial exception. We'll go through that in just a moment, but bottom line is if and only if a child becomes a resident or the resident of your residence, your home, then $1 million in reassessed value is forgiven, but not the entire thing. So if the home is worth $1.5 million or less, there could be complete protection. So in many parts of California, that's fine. But in the Bay Area, so many homes are worth so much more. Most important point that we make for this webinar, there are no exceptions, as there should have been, for situations where the home is being left for the benefit of a special needs child or it's a low-income family. There's no protections built in at all. So Mark's going to go through some very real numbers, and then we'll talk about some solutions.
Very quick example. Let's give an example of a family home worth $3 million. I know it's a huge number, but in some parts of California, that's nothing that spectacular. It's crazy how much houses are. And let's say that mom and dad have property taxes of $4,000 a year. If it goes to their children and they don't live there, they want to keep it as a rental, property taxes can go up to over $34,000 a year, a $30,000 increase. Even if the children live there, as Mike said, okay, $1 million is protected. That still leaves $2 million or so exposed to a reassessment. Property taxes can go up to over $23,000 a year. Rental properties, there are no protections. Because if it's not mom and dad's residence, whether kids live in the rental property or not, there are zero protections under Prop 19 from full reassessments of property taxes. No exceptions. Now, there are tools to deal with it. We can help you with that. But the law offers zero exceptions. And let's just briefly go through how massive these numbers can be. So let's just say, this is an example, a $3.3 million home, that mom and dad's current assessed value is only $300,000 because they bought it 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago, whatever it is. So mom and dad are only paying about, let's call it, $5,000 a year in property taxes. Even if a child lives in that house, property taxes will go up by over $22,000 per year, and they only go up from there because Prop 13 will prevent them from getting reassessed again, but they still go up at 2% a year. And this is if a child lives in the house. We're looking at excess property taxes of over $530,000 over 20 years, almost $900,000 over 30 years. Now imagine for rental properties, there are no protections, so they can go up even more. And remember we've talked about the lifetime cost of care and how much has to be there for your child. Every dollar that goes out to property taxes, that's a dollar that's not going to support your child. So it means that the properties have to earn that much more to provide any support for your child, or the trust has to have that much more just to pay property taxes. That's money it's not going to protect your child. So what's the solution? Happily, we can fix this. We can work with you to help. There are several solutions out there. We've helped many families with this. There's no one-size-fits-all solution, but there are solutions. And you can look at our Gilfix Law YouTube channel. We have the end of Prop 13, Prop 19 in California. We have a few talks. We have one with over 140,000 views, I think. At this time, it's probably going to be more by the time you see this. There are hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars at stake. And we've developed the Gilfix and LaPole Dynasty LLC approach. There are ways that we can keep, through the use of entities and special trusts, we can keep property taxes low. We can get the crucial step up in cost basis. You don't want to just, even if you could transfer a property now to a special needs trust and keep property taxes low, well, you'd lose the stepped up cost basis. If something's in your estate when you pass away, it can be sold later with minimal or no capital gains tax exposure. If you give something away during your life, your loved ones don't get that benefit. They always inherit mom and dad's cost basis. Not getting into too many details there, but we have to be aware of both three things actually: property taxes, capital gains taxes, estate taxes. And we have approaches that can coordinate all of this, and it can coordinate with special needs planning. So we contact us if you want to learn more. We're helping many, many California families, and we can work with you to keep your property taxes where they are so they can be there for your child and support your loved one for the rest of his or her life. Basically with the same property taxes you're paying now, despite Prop 19, but you have to plan now. Do not wait. If you wait, you might lose this opportunity forever. So we have to be aware of property tax issues, but it has to be coordinated with the state and capital gains tax issues. And of course, we can do that. So contact us. Let's set a meeting if you want to talk about that with us in more detail. And we have other videos explained with far more examples about Prop 19 and its impact. Any other thoughts there, Mike?
You nailed it.
Well,
yeah, you have to no head in the sand. This is not going to go away. The likelihood of this being repealed, remember, the legislature can't touch it because this was an amendment to the California Constitution. It's going to take another voter initiative, and believe me, there are forces aligned that will want to retain Prop 19 because of the tax income and so forth.
And as we like to say, hope is not a strategy. Take action, and don't ever rely on voters or Congress or the legislature to bail you out. Just don't rely on that. Do what you can to protect what you've worked so hard for. There are weird political forces at work these days, so we don't even try to predict what might happen. So plan, do what you can, protect your properties. Let's go through a special needs planning mistakes checklist. What are the key steps you have to have if you have a plan in place or if you don't? Checklist. What do you need to go? So do you have a comprehensive estate plan in place? So for you, do you have an up-to-date revocable living trust? If you're married, is it the right structure? Do you have the right backup trustees? Is it up to date? Does it reflect current laws? Do you have an up-to-date power of attorney document? Does it address special needs planning issues? If it doesn't address that, it's not enough. You got to update it. Do you have a special needs trust in place? Was it done by an expert or an expert team? If not, take a look with experts. When we look at trusts done by other people, it's maybe some of the legal language is okay, but other parts of the structure just don't make sense. So you need to work with people who do this day in, day out, and who think about these issues day in, day out. There are a few specialists around the state, but we really pride ourselves on our incredible practice in special needs planning. Have you dealt with estate tax issues? The estate tax exemption is about to drop by 50%. The amount you can pass to your kids is about to drop massively in a couple years. You might not think it's going to be an issue. And right now, it's only an issue for a tiny fraction of the population. The current exemption is $12.92 million per person. It's a lot, but it's set to come down very soon. The value of your home, the value of your rental, that's all part of your estate, life insurance, retirement accounts. Your estate might be bigger than you think. Are you thinking about these issues? Are you thinking about Property tax issues. Do you want to leave it to your child? Have you addressed Prop 19 issues? Do you have a comprehensive financial and insurance plan? Is it integrated with your estate plan? We can help with that, but you need to make sure one hand's talking to the other, or ideally you have a team that works in an integrated way. Again, we're building some programs around that, but we can also coordinate with your financial advisors to make sure that's done right. I mentioned California real estate, protecting that for your child. So you have to make sure that all of these are covered, because a special needs plan is not creating a special needs trust and I'm done. It's making sure it's up to date, but it's making sure all these pieces fit together. Are you coordinating with family? If you have a special needs trust, have you talked to your parents, grandma and grandpa, or uncle and aunt about their plans and if they want to support your child? Is that coordinated with a special needs plan? So there's so many pieces to this that people miss. You don't know what you don't know. Let's make sure all these are covered for you. Let's talk about overcoming the 3Ds, by the way. The danger of delay and denial, as we like to say. So you might be thinking, well, my kid is fine. Or we have a lot of people who are like, well, my child, they have some issues now, but I hope they'll be okay later. When in doubt, create the trust. It's okay. If your child is thriving later, it's still a good tool. But if they need it and you don't have it, it's a disaster. I'll get to it later, or I'll live forever. I have so many clients who are like, well, if I die, then, it's like, we're going to go eventually, right? Like, unless you find the secret of eternal youth. Or I already did documents. I did an estate plan. I'm good. Hey, at least take a fresh look at it. Or I don't want to deal with a lawyer. I'm going to do this myself. Well, I can promise you, if you don't deal with a lawyer now, your family and your loved ones are going to be dealing with a lot of lawyers later. And you can invest a bit now on a good plan, or your family's going to be stuck with massive bills and expenses later if you don't do this right. And maybe worse, your child won't be protected. Don't mess around with this. Work with experts. Of course, we would love to get the chance to work with you. And if you're an existing client, you're seeing this, and we helped you with this, and it's been a few years, hey, let's set a fresh check-in. Let's make sure your plan is up to date. Let's make sure your legal and financial plan's integrated right. And we can help you with Prop 19 issues and property tax issues as well. We have so many families on that as well. We don't want to rely on the government to bail us out. We don't want to rely on public benefits, but let's make sure our plans are there. Let's make sure there's enough there, and we have the right plan to protect our loved ones. Control we can control, and we would love to be a part of your team. Any closing thoughts from you, Mike, before we'll take just a couple questions?
Not really. I think we've covered the main points. That it's essential. That it needs to be coordinated. There are tax issues galore, and we have a tax attorney on our staff, among others, by the way, which is critically important and not always present. So tax issues lurk everywhere, and they just have to be recognized and addressed. Prop 19 is only one of the tax issues that we focus on. So again, this is the heart and soul of the work that we do. We particularly value the special needs planning work that we do. So we welcome additions to the mailing list, to the YouTube channel, and we look forward to seeing everybody.
Yeah, we plan on some in-person talks. We usually do a large special needs trust seminar event where we have a bunch of nonprofits, and Mike and I lead a couple talks. We're going to schedule that soon. We used to do them in the summer. COVID kind of upended that, but we're going to look out on our website, gilfix.com, join our mailing list to stay on top of that. We're going to do a special needs trust big event, all free, of course, coming up in the next couple of months. So let's stay in touch. You can join our Gilfix Law YouTube channel, but you can also join our mailing list on our gilfix.com website. Easy to join our mailing list. We at the Gilfix and LaPole team love to have more people in our community. Very easy to find us, gilfix.com, or contact us at 650-493-8070. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Hope everybody's staying safe, sane, and healthy, and we'll see you next time.